Well, hey, it's Casey here with CL Creative, where I'm teaching you web design and Webflow one video at a time. And today we're going to talk about what is the best way to export your images from Figma and put them into your Webflow project so that you're getting the best image quality, but you're also getting fast load times. I recently had a little bit of issue on one of my latest projects. I did not do what I normally do in my exporting procedures, and you know what, it cost me a ton of time because I had to go back and export these images again and re-upload them and put back on the alt text and all the stuff that you're supposed to do when you're launching a website. And today I'm going to save you time, I'm going to save you headache. I'm going to help you understand how to export your images from Figma, upload those to Webflow for the best quality possible. So let's jump into the computer and check things out. All right, well, here we are in the computer, and this is a project that I've been working on. And so let me just give you 3 steps that I go through when I am exporting my images out of Figma, and some best practices that you should keep in mind. Because remember, I said that I lost a lot of time, and what I typically do and what I didn't do, I just kind of got on autopilot, and I didn't do what I normally would do. But what I'll do first is I will take and I will actually, duplicate these particular images. And so that's why you see all of these over here to the side. And the easiest way to do that is just to highlight the image, hold down Option or Alt, depending on whether you're on a Mac or PC. I'm on a Mac. And then you just drag that image out. And so I'll go through and I will do that for each of the images on all of the different pages. Let me just go ahead and delete these so they're not there. And so you can see that I've basically gone through and I've done that for each of the images, whether that be a background image or whether it be an image in the header. I've gone through and I have duplicated every single one of these images. Now, why do I do that? Well, the reason I do that is because, for one, especially on these headers where there's going to be some sort of overlay, I want to make sure that I am putting that overlay in development, that I'm not pulling this image in with that overlay already on there. It gives me control over what I want that to look like. As well as, and this design doesn't necessarily call for that, but on some designs, you will have a drop shadow on your images, and you may have some rounded corners. Now, these corners are not rounded. We went more with like a sharp corner look for this particular site, but on some sites that will be the case. You will have more of a rounded images. I don't want to pull my images in with the drop shadow already applied, nor do I want to pull my images into Webflow with the corners already rounded. I want to be able to do that inside or in development and mimic what I have here in design. That is going to give me the utmost control over what those images are going to look like. And so that's the first step. I pull and I copy all of these over. If I have any sort of styles applied to those images, I remove those styles before I export them. I also make sure that if I haven't named my images properly as I've been going through design, I want to make sure that I am naming all of my images here so that they are reflecting what page they're going to be on and where I'm going to utilize them. It just helps to keep me organized. The next step that I'm going to do in the export process is I'm going to export those as a PNG. For some of these larger images, like the header images, particularly the ones that have an overlay on them, I'm going to export those at PNG is going to be the format, and then I'm going to do 1.5x. For all the other images that are going to show up on the body, I'm going to export those in PNG, but I'm going to export those at 2x. Now, the reason I do 1.5 and the reason that I do 2x, even though I'm using PNG, is because I found that when I go to transfer these into or transition these into the WebP format, this gives me, the greatest, I don't know what the word would be, but it gives me the greatest flexibility, and it produces the best image quality at a low file size. So when you initially export those, and let me just bring these over, I've already gone through and I've done the export. And what I do is I really like to stay organized. And so if you notice here, these are all the pages that I've been building for this particular site. And on all of these pages, I've named them, of course, by the page name, and I've exported the PNG image right here. And so if we go to the home page, since this is what we've been looking at, I have all of my images here. The next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to take these images and I'm going to open up Squish. And so this is one I've already done, but I really like to use squish.app. Now, I know that if you're going to be putting these on the page and not in the CMS inside of Webflow, Webflow will convert these images to WebP for you right in the assets panel. And that is great. That is handy. I use it sometimes, but when images are really going to be shining on the website, particularly like in this particular website, I want to have the utmost control over what my image is going to look like. And so I use squish.app. And all I do is I put on my other screen over here, this folder right here, I open it up on another screen, and I simply just begin pulling them in one by one. And so let me grab one of these bigger images here, like this one right here. And so what I'll do, a number of things, when you drag it in, it's going to be on, I guess that's Moz JPEG. So I'll go ahead and convert that over to WebP. And then depending on how large this file is, so this one's only 1320, which is fine. But if this was like 2000 or 4000, if I got it from Unsplash or something like that, then what I want to do is reduce this width down to, say, 1200, 1000 at times. Sometimes I'll even go up to 1600, particularly on some of the header images. And I may even leave them at like 2000 on the long side for some of the header images if it's going to be like full screen. But really, where the magic happens is right here in the quality. So it's really going through, looking at what the width is going to be, reducing the width either 1000, 1200, 1600, or at sometimes 2000. I will leave it there. And then playing with this quality slider here. And what we're looking for is, you notice right here, we started with a 1 megabyte image. And I've gotten this image down to 94.4 kilobytes just by changing it to WebP. I did not do any resizing, and the quality has been reduced down to 75. And the nice thing about squish.app is that you can immediately see how is this image going to look. It gives you a pretty good preview of what it's going to actually look like on the website. And so what I'll do is I'll sit here and I'll play with this. I'm looking at the file size. I want to really try to keep it around 100 kilobytes. And so I want to see, okay, how close can I get to 100 kilobytes and keep this file intact? When I have it to a place that I really like, then I'll download that to my downloads folder, and then I will just do the same thing. I'll pull in another image. And so here we see that, we're at about 117 kilobytes at 77. I might be able to pull this down to like 76. I can check on that. It's about 1200, so that's okay. And so now I'm at about 100 kilobytes. It really doesn't look that different, maybe a little bit in some of the details, and so I might move it up. But one of the important things to do also is to keep in mind, is the image actually going to display at 100% on the website? A lot of times it's not, because I've made it quite a large image. The width is 1200. And so in this case, and for this particular image, it's the way it is laid out is it's never going to display at 1200. And so a lot of times I will reduce this down to where I think approximately the image will be displayed on the website, and I'll move this slider back and forth just to see, is there going to be any sort of difference that someone can see. Now, there's always going to be the sacrifice of quality versus how large the file size is going to be, and so you have to decide based on the website that you are creating and what you're wanting to showcase on that website, where you are willing to make those sacrifices. It's going to either be your page is going to load a little bit slower, or the image may not be as high a quality as it could be. And so there's always kind of that game that you are playing between those two. So, I'm okay right here, 100 kilobytes. It's pretty close. So I'll download that. Once I have all of my images for, say, the home page or even for the whole website, I might go through and do it for the whole website at the same time. Then I will remove those images from my downloads folder into what I have labeled my WebP folder. So I know that every single image in this folder has gone through that process. It's been exported from Figma, and it has been it has been changed to WebP with squish.app. Then I'm going to move over to the website, and at that point I'm actually going to start pulling these into my assets panel. So you see that I have them all there, and then I'll start laying out a website, and I'll start pulling in the particular images. Now, one of the reasons that I do this at, say, 2x is because maybe this image right here looks okay at 1x in this layout, in this format, or this image right here, it looks okay at 1x outside of Figma in this format. But notice what happens when I change this to my iPad breakpoint. This image gets a little bit larger. And the same thing with this image here. You know, it gets a little bit larger, maybe not too much larger, but it gets a little bit larger. And depending on what size iPad you have, right, or what size tablet somebody has. So I have an iPad Pro, and mine, you know, goes up to right here. So this image right here on my iPad, it is a little bit larger than it is in the desktop view. And with the way our technology is going, we have very high resolution screens on our iPads, on our tablets, on our phones. And so you can really begin to see like the degradation of the quality of that particular image, especially if that image is being stretched on the website. And so that's why I export at 2x. And then the other thing that I like to do is I like to use high DPI here as well. So that way the image will, essentially double. That's why you need a bigger image as well in order to do that. But what it is actually helping to do is, when possible, create that higher DPI or higher dots per inch image on your device that has that higher end screen on it, so that it looks nice. Now, a little confession here on this particular site. As I said, I did not export everything at 2x to begin with, and I was showing this site to one of my sons, and he said, "Man, Dad, this site looks great, but some of these images, like just right here, doesn't look good. It looks a little weird. It looks a little bad." And so I started looking at that, and I was like, "Oh man, you're right." And so I went back to Figma, and I saw that I did not export those at 2x. I did it at 1x, and so I had to go back through, and where those images got larger on the site and they started looking bad, I had to go back through and I had to re-export all of those images. I had to go back through and do the squish.app again. Then I had to re-upload them, and I'd already kind of got to the point where I was putting the alt text on the images, so I had to go back through and put the alt text on every single one of these images again. So don't make that mistake. Use this process that I have outlined here in this video. It's going to make your website look really nice. Your clients are going to be happy, and it's going to save you a ton of time not having to redo this when your client comes back and says, "Hey, these images really don't look all that great." As well as using WebP, using squish.app, you can really fine tune it so that where you might be sacrificing a little bit of load time versus quality, or you might be pushing more towards the quality, or pushing more towards the load time and the quality a little bit lower, but you're okay with sacrificing that because you want the site to load quickly. All right, well, hopefully you got some value out of this video, and if you did, would you smash that like button for me? If you want more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. I'm putting out videos like this on a regular basis where I'm teaching you Webflow, web design, some SEO as well. I'm going to start bringing out some videos that is really detailing some ways in which you might be able to get your site to rank in search, and so be watching for those incoming videos. Hope to see you next time.